Hello, it's Chris from Airwindows, doing one of my checking in on Wednesday streams. And I have a bit of a show and tell today, and a little over an hour and a half before making dinner. Hey, Alex AlphaSync. And one of the things that I'm fixing to do this afternoon is some finishing up work on the first successful Console X GUI design. So I have been going bonkers doing all this. Like, I have to do all of these things, make them all work. You'll notice that they all have their own little settings and all of this stuff going on. And I have to do all of those things and have to do them all perfectly or they won't work. Thing is, I might have successfully done all of the things perfectly, and if this works, I get to use it for Console X channel, Console X bus, and the Console X standalone, which I don't remember what I was going to call that, but I've got some kind of plan for it. I think I even built one because the audio code was built as a standalone VSD. It's also kind of weird around here because I'm still getting my house painted and that's going super well, but it does mean people constantly rapping on my walls and causing things to seem a little bit insane. And then as soon as they were finished, now there's people with jackhammers tearing up the street. So I don't know if they're continuing, but if there's a bunch of weird random noise, that would be why. On the bright side, I was able to do a cool thing this morning before going out, catching up with a friend and doing a little grocery shopping. I ran some disused clothing down to a community clothing place that's there's a Episcopal church nearby that runs that, and it turned out they were actually quite low on men's clothing. I'm told, actually, because I hung out getting to know these folks, they seem very nice, that they'd been able to, I think it was Colombian, I could be misremembering it. These folks were able to give clothing to a entire, like Colombian or something, family that came through, and then they still had plenty of clothing left. So to me, that sounds like right up their street. And I was looking to find one of those big boxes or something that you put cast-off clothing into. And well, instead of doing that, turns out I had a local place with people I can get to know that I can do that. So that set the day off on a good start. And it wasn't, I actually left some of, I even had other stuff that I did not show those folks because as it happens, I think I am slightly allergic to down, although the reason I have traditionally had difficulty in winter is because my histamine system freaks out. And so I end up needing like your Benadryl type stuff to not be full of phlegm, which I have been. Like, I'm not coughing nearly as much as I used to. And it's because like first generation antihistamines turn out to work better for when your lungs just fill up with phlegm for the winter because of, I don't know, smoke and dust and dryness of the air. So that's looking better. But I had a down jacket that I had to give up and a down comforter that I had to give up. And as part of my long-term giving up drugs and drinking, I catch up with folks who are much shorter term of giving up drugs and drinking. And one of these folks is doing really well and trying really hard. I hope he's down for trying harder, but I'm not his mom, so I can't do anything about that. But he, guys on the drug replacement therapy, I don't think it's a great idea to be on drug replacement therapy in the times that we are heading into. I don't think it's necessarily safe to depend upon like prescribed medication in that way. It might go away. So if that's you, this might be a good time to kick. However, if it's him, it's a good time to be struggling through the winter coming on, because he was cold even in the room that we were having a meeting in. And I realized, hey, wait a minute. I have a down jacket that's in a plastic bag in my basement. I can't use it because I think I might be slightly allergic to down, and so I replaced it. But I didn't throw it away or put it in one of those big yellow boxes or whatever. And now I could use it. So I'm bringing that, and I'm bringing the down comforter that I had, which is also in a big plastic bag. And I'm going to give them to this guy. And I hope he does good. I don't know. I mean, I was a little worried maybe like somebody's going to just steal them off of him, but I can't control that. And what I can do is give those things that are not doing me any good to this guy who really needs to, like, I have my wood stove going. I'm not going to have a problem staying warm, but this guy is going to have a lot more problem staying warm, and I can do something to help. So that's been my morning, and that's been my day. And having recounted how my day went, which is to say that was pretty awesome getting to do some of those things, it's time to jump into this stuff. Also, let me peek at chat just a bit. Scooch it around so that I can see it better. Oh, are you the person asking about the recommended order? I saw a comment to that effect. I don't honestly have a recommended order, with some caveats, but even those caveats, it depends upon what you're trying to do. It truly does depend upon what you're trying to do. I think somebody mentioned that you're using bit shift gain or something like. Note also the great pause that I have. I think we're heading into times where people get to say rude things much more freely, and I still choose not to, thank you. But certain things like running the console system while keeping it unaltered is effectively the same thing as doing nothing. So you wouldn't put those in a row just on one channel. And you wouldn't put bit shift gain or pan on a channel and then just leave it set to nothing, because it won't do anything. I was in a interesting argument on Gearspace about dither. It's the eternal dither argument. And the same predictable character jumped up saying I was a big meanie pants for doubting his opinions and stuff, as one does, I guess. And somebody else popped in saying, hey, I'm putting 24-bit dither in front of bit shift gain, or something to that effect. And how is it making everything better? And I had the opportunity to say, no, it's not. That's not how that works. So what you're doing is the same as if you were running Airwindows Texturize. And you should bear that in mind, Horde Barraged, as far as experimenting with these things. Some of the things that you might be doing could equate to misusing plugins in order to get an effect that is gettable with a different, more intentional plugin. For instance, if you were using a dither like in an inappropriate place and it sounded better to you and you're like, well, how did that do the thing of mathematically making it better? If that's not the case, then what's happening is it's the same as the texturized plugin. You're adding a very, very quiet, noise source. So it's essentially you're remixing, you're adding a noise because it is working for whatever it is that you're working on. It stops being doing the technically correct thing and it starts being another creative choice. So console 0, yeah. Also, don't get too hung up on the rating differences because sometimes you are aiming for a different rating. You can be aiming for a lower rating if you want things to be a little more relaxed feeling. So let me, I will derail over into answering lots of questions if I'm asked lots of questions, because that's probably more important. But I'm also going to try doing this because I have not yet seen what it looks like, or even if it works, because that'll be a whole other thing, having this many knobs in an interface. And I've got all these little cards and things, which I currently have laid out in a 4x3 arrangement. And what this code does, see it says first one just to get things working down here. Ooh, and it looks as if I have not done this to all the knobs yet. Oh, no, wait. Wait. But I have done it here. So see what we're looking at? And it is probably, oh yeah, UI to audio. So I can get away with this not being completed, but in the final version, I'm going to have to finish all of these. And what it's going to do is be like this, where you got slider drag internal. This really doesn't do anything, I don't think. And you have to have every single knob accounted for. So I've done it here. Is this the same code? Also notice that these different places have to match and they all have to be made correct. This is why this kind of stuff can be fussy. Zach, I'm grateful that you're here as well. There is a lot of goodness in people just being able to hang out. And see, here's another big pile of the lists of things. And this one actually does not get every single knob included, and I'll tell you why. This controls FCT, SCT, FGT, and SGT knobs. Those are actually sliders, and the sliders for console 0, you can't see this, but that's okay. The sliders are blinky lights. They will blink in whatever the user specified color is. It'll default to red. And they will do something that will give you feedback on whether gating or compression is active. That's the intention there. So I'm not exactly sure how they are going to blink or work. I feel like maybe a sustain of the blink is going to be the thing, rather than having a very small touch of compression be the black light built into the knob only barely lighting up. However, what we've got currently, maybe I should change this while I'm looking at it. If you look at this code, what you see it's doing now is it just takes meter input RMS L, and all of the knobs will blink with the input RMS level, and that's all they will do. So maybe let's manipulate that. Let's make it so that the L does one and the right does the other. I've got 4 different controls, but they're actually going to end up getting their own dedicated control that gives better visual information. All the rest of the knobs are either default color or color coded, and I've already got the color coding set up. So once I get this finished, build it and open it up in something that's able to display a GUI, and Twisted Wave should be fine for that. What it'll do is it will show all the knobs in the arrangement that I will have, or at least a hint. I will still need to move all of the knobs around and so on, and we haven't even gotten into covering different aspect ratios. I am starting with only a 4 across by 3 down arrangement, but I've more or less got it set up with the tone controls as a row on the top, and then I have the fire and stone channels with the all the compression and gating going to the left and right of the air, fire, stone, and range level outputs. Now I could put the levels all the way on this side, but what I've got is those sections being flanked by the compression and gating controls, and I might figure out whether I can draw some kind of dividing line. But first things first. What's the first thing? Let's make the stone controls, whether they be compression or gating, be RMSR. This is just temporary. And there's all of our knobs. Does this use the same format? Could I simply copy it over? UI to audio message. What? No, I cannot. And I'll tell you why. Because this code goes message what BV question plugin processor da, 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 da. BV is, see, a Boolean that comes in here. And this operator means use this as a true or false statement. You could put it in parentheses and have a logic operation in there. And if it's true, do one, colon, if it's false, do the other. So this does, in fact, need to have this, but I might be able to edit it. Because what needs to happen is literally all of these, but instead message what becomes UI to audio message new value, whereas these are all begin edit, end edit. So I think this finished part is actually the part that I'm not using. And well, none of it I'm actually using. This gets fed back to the processing thread. Right now, the processing thread is nothing but a meter. It's taking a value, it's measuring the value, but the way that it's working is not actually doing anything. Or is it? Well, here it's not. What if it no? So I said what if it no because we are in fact assigning these knobs, and the knobs have to have that feedback mechanism in there, to things, but then it turns out we're not doing anything with them. So that's cool. It's all cool. Hi, THWATH. So let's step away from this because this is not the time for us to be working on audio code. That's going to be a whole other thing, and it'll be an enormous pain in the butt, but that's what this line of work is. In particular, I also tend to lean on doing things like this rather than adding lots of layers of abstraction. Abstraction, distraction, what's the diff? Ooh, I should add something else here too. These blocks are more or less worked out to be what they need to be. And the comment just tells you what the block is, because what I'm going to need to do is put these in the order they need to be, and then this little bit here distinguishes the blocks from each other. Because again, I'm talking about blocks here. You could just run these all together, but see the little collection of those guys up there? if I have the one happen first and then do offset X so that it goes and then do the second one, they'll be like this. Or if I have these two together and then I do offset Y, it puts them there. And I can keep them consistent with each other, and it'll let me use that same code in different if statements. Like this is an if statement saying if the aspect ratio is larger than 0 and less than 999, i.e. any aspect ratio. But there will be lots of others that look just the same except for that I rearrange them. Because if I have a whole setting where the entire thing is one incredibly tall stack and it's one wide, my code will still work with that. Even if the knobs are so small you can barely see them, I can make it display like it was a literal channel strip. And people might find that to be fun. But I have to arrange them differently if so. So here's how we're going to go about doing this. We're going to do it in order. And we're going to start here. These need to move. So bass, low, mid, high, mid, treble. I'm going to talk myself through it so that we can hopefully get this done. Cut. This is a third of all the controls. Paste. We are starting. Let's rearrange these while I'm at it. And sort out the silliness. I'm not even going to get into panel tilt. Panel tilt is a thing where I'm going to be able to fit all of the knobs better, but for starters, we're going to leave the panel tilt out of it and simply have everything basically flat. It looks nice flat anyhow. So what do we have here? Put between horizontal sections. So here's how this works. We do not need to update offset. Oops. That actually needs commentary. There we go. Now it'll be better. There we go. So what we need is one of these between each of these sections, because each of these sections is a little collection of knobs positioned according to these instructions. And the instructions are always within whatever the size of that section is. And this PX and PY are specified as, let's see, X is horizontal, there's 4 in each horizontal section and 3 in each vertical section. So that should be correct. And it goes between the sections. That is now a chunk that in theory will place these things appropriately. So what comes next? Well, fire comp, the fire output gain section, and fire gate. Well, we have fire gate right here, and it's actually going to be the same for the next one down, so let's start arranging these appropriately. Firstly, we know that fire comp and then next fire gate. And then here's the final one. This doesn't have as many controls because the controls are bigger. You will see soon enough, hopefully, if this goes well. And cut. Paste this guy in there. So going from right to left, and I'm going to be stepping down in the Y section. This IDE Airwindows 72 is Xcode. It is doubtless not the most recent Xcode, but it is in Xcode, and a recent one. So let's see. So Stone Range B block. Well, guess where that goes? That goes cut between Stone Cob and Stone Gate. And then what else happens? Well, since we are 4 across, we have to have 4 blocks before stepping down again. So we're planning ahead to be able to reset the X offset and then step down with the Y offset each time. We're sort of filling them in, kind of like a typewriter hitting a carriage return, going up a step and then continuing. So any of this can be arranged any way that I want, really. So what I'm looking at is EQs on the top. I've got the fire dynamic section in the middle, and the stone dynamic section, which is, of course, stone fire, the Kalman filter thingy. And then, since those are only 3 blocks, I need an extra block for each. And we have these down here on the bottom. It says low pass, high pass discontinuity. On my control surface, that is actually on opposite sides of the control surface, but I have to figure out a way to place all of these things for each aspect ratio we're working on. So I'm looking to put low pass, high pass discontinuity under the treble EQ and all the way to the right of this arrangement. And then in the very bottom corner, the very last block that I do becomes this pan fader block, being it's the pan pot and it's the knob that does the fader. And so at that point, that means I have to move low pass, high pass discontinuity to the second row rather than the bottom row. Let's see about doing that. It goes after fire gate. So now see what we've got here. We've got 4 blocks on the top, and we step down, and the way we do that is like this. I'll tighten it back up when I'm done. Offset is how far down everything is, but we're moving all of these blocks, which stuff is being placed inside the blocks, by this amount each time. And you know how we had the offset X in between all of these things? That happens again. So we'll copy it this time. And every time we have this little block of 4, we're sort of going to walk through this. If it was arranged as like 6 by 2, which is another possibility, then we only have 2 of these offset Ys being done. And then if we had 6 by 2, we'd have to have 6 in this thing that's stepping to the right each time. So, and you notice I have a thing that is left not done yet, and I will get it. If anybody is another coder, they probably spotted what it is. And it is as follows. Offset Y goes from top to bottom, but offset X has to go from left to right 3 times. So, copy where it gets initialized. And we have to reset it to the start again. We step down, we do the carriage return thing of scooching back over, and off we go, just offsetting the X each time. Then we do it again. And at the end, we don't need to use either of those. Hey, Yusuf Zoran. It's going pretty good. I got off to a really good start this morning because I was able to take some clothes that I had. You know how you outgrow clothes? I outshrank clothes because I worked on my diet and stuff and patiently did exercises over the course of some years and lost weight. So there were clothes that don't fit me any longer because I am younger and fresher and hotter and slimmer than I used to be, which is always great fun. But yeah, so now while I was talking, you may not realize it, but granted there's a couple of details, but we may actually have the interface laid out. I won't swear to it. I could be wrong. But what this did, oh, Grans, I'm so happy to hear that. Stuff like that always comes in handy. So we've got an aspect ratio that is everything. We have come up with these magic numbers, which are what I adjust if this ends up looking really dumb and awful. They're done with a millimeter ruler by looking at these cards and measuring how big the knobs and their positions based on the outside of the card. And not all the cards are exactly the same, so I might need to tweak it. But this stuff, and again, I have done nothing to panel tilt, but panel tilt is still a thing. Can you see where I would use panel tilt? I'll give you a hint. It would go there. After we do the, oh, I have typed the wrong thing. There we go. That should fix it. So as we go across the entire row, move to the second row. The second row is where I would alter panel tilt, and then everything included in here would have a different tilt. The idea of this is to be able to make the whole thing, to some extent with an exception, because gate is a slider and I do not have tilting sliders, but everything else is tilting. So in doing that, what I would be doing is manipulating how I'm doing offset Y. In other words, PY starts at 0, and then I have it going in exactly equal intervals to 1/3 and then 2/3, and then you're done. If we're doing tilts, the entire panel can be a little bit shallower because you're looking at it at an angle. There's more room for the middle panel, and then the bottom panel can be tilted the other way. It can still be worked using the controls. I wonder if I have made a mark on whether, oh no. So 0 is the one that's on the top and you're recessed looking into the interface. And 1 is maximum, the one on the bottom. And it kind of only truly works with the round knobs. And I don't have it working with the sliders, but we got to see how this looks. So tell you what, hit save, hit build and see if it builds. Let's find out. Oh, hi. Why are you not using those variables? It's complaining about a thing which gives me concern. It says unused variable. But I should be using that variable. I've measured it out correctly. So let's see whether I've got them doubled up. It's comp. Oh. Do you see where my cursor is? It says D1X, D2, D3, and then D3 again. That's not going to work. That's putting two of the knobs on top of each other. So that's easy fix. There. Now it's used. And I'll probably have to do that multiple times, but that's fine. E1, E2, E3, and then also E3. So the same problem there. Got that. Then stone comp and stone gate, same issue. 4 and 4. Save that and build it, and now it thinks it's using all the variables, and the build succeeded. I don't know what to do with this. This is in the way. Let's see. You were here with me, watching to see whether the grand new interface worked first time or is all screwed up. If it's all screwed up, I have an hour and 5 minutes before dinner to fix it. So let's find out. Drum roll? Anybody down for a drum roll? This is a good time to be excited. Don't know if it'll work, but it's a good time to be excited. Drum roll. Bada. And we crashed Twisted Wave. Okay. Interesting. Well, it sure would have been cool if it showed me anything. I guess I have to find out what happened. Yeah, not as much of a yay, but I was kind of being somewhat facetious, joking around about it. Oh, yeah, aw. So let's see what we can make happen. Why would it have done that? I just added a million, billion, zillion controls. Surely that is not a problem. I could try the clap version and see if that's any happier, but I feel like maybe it wouldn't be. This is what we're looking at. Region type unused space at start. Thread 0 crashed. See, I don't really understand what any of this means. But I have nobody here to help me, so I will just try to make sense of it. We could be just trying to ask too much of it, or I could have something else obviously wrong. I would be a little bit surprised if it really wasn't capable of doing something this big. Because I've seen stuff like this before. For instance, let's fire it back up. Recover from a crash. I don't need to worry about losing that because I'm sure I'll be able to make it crash again. And I may or may not have Dexid available. We'll only have these things available. So if I run this, see, those are controls. That's as many controls as I would have in the console X thing. So if you can make a thing which has this many things in it, and I do not know if it'll actually, if it would let me show just the raw parameters, but no matter. So this thing is able to open a plugin with this many knobs. It's just that my knobs are not working for it, or something is wrong somewhere. So let's try the clap version. It does produce one of those. Although I don't know if this actually will load it, does it? Perhaps not. Yeah, Reaper would run a clap. This won't. Let's try it again and see how it crashes this time. And again, I can open Airwindows Consolidated. That is a Juice-based plugin, which potentially has many controls on it. Don't need to do an effect stack here, I don't think. Go to this, except for I have to go to the VST3s. If I am not mistaken, this will also fall over and crash, but we can find out. Yep. So then the next question becomes, can we dial it back or comment stuff out until it will work? And the first thing that comes to mind, what would happen if we quit all of that stuff, so we're not actually trying to update any of those things? Oop. Hi, what are you doing? Oh, that's in the wrong place. I know what happened. Oops. All of the oopsness. So yeah, it might burst my initial good mood for having this all go horribly wrong, but that's fine. I don't think it can actually crash on me by not having all of these represented. After all, if it's feeding in a slider which is not covered, all that happens is it won't do anything. And these are the only ones that are being read as a control in the first place. So let's give that a try. If that doesn't help, we'll start continuing to comment things out until we can get something that works. And that will most definitely involve commenting out the entire knobs themselves. Or maybe I was setting the positions of knobs, but I hadn't created them. I think I did, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, see, we're creating these things, adding them and making them visible. If there is a, we're going to try one more time, and then we're going to go for editing out all of this so that it doesn't add anything. It'll probably still define knobs, but it won't add them to the screen. And we're going to see whether that helps. You go ahead and open that. Has a tendency to double them up somehow. Let's see if it crashes yet again. I do hope I get through to being able to run this and show it to you, because I have put days and days and days of work into getting to this point. So it could very well end up being many more days of work. I do know smarter people that can help me with this, but I don't have them here. So let's see, what are we looking at? Dispatch queue, invalid address, sigvault. It's claiming unused space at start. Allocation. Malloc means allocation. It's allocating memory. And it is happening in plugin editor. So that's interesting. This is presumably a list of the things that it thinks it's doing at the time that it falls over and crashes. Menu items, carbon menu, process event handler. That is, a thread 0 has a whole bunch of stuff in it, doesn't it? These are not the threads you're looking for. Oh, thread 17 has something going on. I'm not defining any of the buffers, so there's your problem. In no place am I defining buffers for this to be doing anything. So I'm assuming that something to do with this stuff is where the problem lies. Thread 0 crashed, so this is the culprit. It's trying to do create editor. It says audio parameter float get. Let's go up to here. We are now commenting out all of these things. All this add and make visible. Oops, scroll past. Trying to do all of this stuff. I should have all of these things appropriately set up. Some of them have colors added. We don't get to see any of them until it works, sadly. Lows, base, discontinuity, pan, and fader. I have commented out add and make visible inspect button because we haven't even got that far. Inspect button contains all of this stuff. So now what should be happening is it's presumably created all of these things, but we are making a point of not adding any of them to the interface. And if that works, we can start by using only high pass, low pass, and air, and that will add those to the interface, although we have not positioned them in any way. So let's see what happens now. Let's see if we can keep dialing it back until it actually builds something that the program doesn't fall over, because if we can find the thing, then we can check it. So let's see. Does it work? Aha! See? And in fact, this is even going to the meter stuff is still alive. So what we're trying to do is place a huge number of controls in sections down here. So here's the next question. That made it work. One possibility is you can't set colors here. I don't know, but that's one of the things I'm trying to do. So check it out. I have no idea what I'm doing. ABODC. I don't really have anybody to help me with any of this, so you're watching somebody just grope their way through as well as they can. If you're used to Juice and you see what I'm doing wrong, please tell me. So now what we've got is high pass and low pass knobs being created, although not positioned. What that will probably do, I don't know if it has defaults. Well, first let's just see if that can even work. If it works, it'll make two knobs. They will be maybe 0 size or not even. Rather than talking about it, let's just try it. The build did succeed. So do we have two knobs or do we have another crash? Neither. And I'll tell you why. It's because we created the knobs, but we have not positioned them. So the knobs are size of 0 and position of 0, and you can't see them. Let's see if we can do anything about that. Here's all the create and add stuff. Here's paint. Here's resize, and resize is what is getting called. Now we find out at a stroke whether all of the set color and set bounds we're doing is what's causing things to break. Because this sets color and bounds on all of the knobs, but we have only created 2 of them. Or we've only added 2 of them to the window. It may well be that the knobs do exist and we can make this and make it run. But we're going to find out right now. It thinks it succeeded, but that doesn't necessarily tell us anything. Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad it's in a good way. It's the only way that I can do. Audio units, Airwindows. So, place your bets. Is it going to break because I'm doing all these set colors and set bounds, or is it going to have 2 little knobs in funny positions? And we're finding out now. Neither. Okay, didn't see that coming. Yeah, what we were doing is supposed to have placed these knobs and moved them into a place. It did not crash everything, but we can't see any of them. What could have gone wrong? Well, it didn't make everything crash, so there's that. What I am wondering now is this. In fact, I think I see the problem. Do you see the problem? Because I think maybe I do. Look closely here. How our offsets for each thing are like px times a3x, py times a23y. And look how the actual knobs, let's scooch up again and see what the ones we actually added were. Because this could be the whole problem. Well, I'm no coder either, obviously, but we have a high pass and a low pass knob, and everything else has not been added. It is possible that doing the set color here is what breaks it. If we can make these knobs appear, and I have a suspicion as to how, the next thing we can do is step the comment down 1, and then we'll have this set color, and we'll find out whether that is what's happening, where you cannot set color in this section of the program. Hi, alcoholic audio engineer. Yeah, I'm another alcoholic audio engineer. I've just been clean for a really long time. This level of patience is how you do. This is how this is done. And you know, in the shape of the world, we might all need lots of patience. I am more than happy to model it. But we're not testing this yet. We're not testing whether the fixed thumb color doesn't get to be set here, because that could be causing the crashing. If you can't do set color in this section, then that would be causing the crashing. But I show you the other part of what's happening. Check this out, because I'm sure this is it. Do you remember how the knobs are circular knobs, but they sit neatly in what in an earlier live stream I showed you was a bounding box that can be rectangular, and it will sit the knob exactly in the middle of this bounding box. What do you see when we have set bounds and the position of this area is just rectangle offset plus px times a1x. What would px and py be? Well, we can look up here and see that it says px is area get width. That's like hundreds maybe, divided by 4. So it's hundreds divided by 4. So we're positioning the knob, the bounds of the knob, the top and bottom edges and all that kind of stuff, as offset, offset, height, and width. So we're hundreds in, and our sections are like yay big. And how big is the section that we are setting? Our width and our height. Excuse me. Large knob. Let's go and look at what large knob is. Oh, hey, we're hundreds over, and the position and size of literally all of our knobs, or at least the large ones, is 0.3. We have told all of our knobs to be 0 pixels wide and 0 pixels tall. This might have something to do with why it isn't doing super well with what we've told it to do. Because we've told all the knobs to be microscopic in size. No wonder it got confused. Let's see if we can fix that. Reminding myself as to which one was still left. We're going to test it, and if this concept works, we're going to go through and fix literally every single one of these knobs. Oh, cool beans, cool beans. Yeah, you know, the guy that is at meetings I go to, who's like getting out of a halfway house and doesn't like the cold, and he's starting to really suffer from it, who I'm giving a down jacket to, is also about 6 months. With certain caveats, but he's doing the best he can. So, high pass and low pass, these are the only ones that currently show. Down we go. Pan fader. Here's where they are. So, if I fix these knobs, low pass, high pass discontinuity, which is not actually being done, that is done by px times large knob, py times large knob. It's okay if it's not perfectly square. I had forgotten that it doesn't have to be perfectly square. If this works, I go through and punch these in everywhere it says that, which I will do manually. Just so as you know. It's only like 36, which would be down to about 33 if it works. Let's see whether it worked. Because again, I am specifying a rectangle within which the knob is to be drawn. And all of this is supposed to position that. And that means I have to tell the size of the rectangle that we're specifying that it also is relative to the size of the little section that we're creating. But enough about that. I just supposedly fixed the thing. Let's see if it draws knobs for us. Moment of truth, because it hasn't been crashing yet, so we've got that going for us. Interesting. It does not draw knobs for us. Could it be because the if statement isn't doing anything? Heck with this if statement. Now all of this stuff just automatically happens. Oh, also I didn't copy this over to where it needed to be, but that's fine. I know that's something that needs doing, so I'll just do it again. So if that doesn't help, the next thing is to try to specify these positions manually rather than referring to all this stuff. Yeah, and I feel like I'm wasting a lot of drum rolls here, but we can but try. I'm doing the best I can. And if it doesn't fail, that just means more hours of work trying to make it work. That's the goal. Other people are able to do this. I'm just not as smart as them, and that's fine. And people get to be smart about different things, I might add. We still do not have visible knobs, although the meter shows. So that part didn't actually count. So I tell you what, let's go back to assuming the if statement is fine. This part clearly is working. I never really tested this. How about the low pass and high pass section are the ones of concern. Those are the only ones we have currently showing. Let's see if we can make them show up by manually typing in values. That'll work like this. And actually, we don't even need to do the set color, but I suppose we can if we want. We got this going on. Here's the section where you're going to have a lot of drum rolls, but it'll be exciting if we eventually get something happening. And this is supposed to work, although we no longer have these controls in here. We can do, well, no, we can't do panel tilt either, but it became 0.5, so we can override that and this. Panel tilt is meant to be 0.5. So that much is okay. So now let's simply pick some locations. Let's have the low pass start at 0, 0, which presumably will be not overlapping the meter control, but we'll see. And then high pass will be because understand another possibility is all of this stuff has to be scaled down or something, and so therefore everything has been moved off the side of the control. We don't know. Time to find out. So we'll start with rectangle, blah, 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 blah. See, I'm looking at all this get width and stuff. Let's see whether we can make anything show up even if it doesn't scale. How basic can we get this? Width and height. And then let's make this one start there and go on from there. So in theory, that position one knob as 0 to 200. And then we'll do another knob that's 200 to 400, both axes. And the way that would work is it would be starting at 200 by 200, and then also having a 200 size. Should still build. Did still build. Let's see whether manually positioning those helps. Again, we've gone very simple. We're no longer trying to do any of the calculations. We're just trying to get a knob to show up at all like they used to do back when I only had 3 of them rather than 38 or something. What do we got? Oh, interesting. I'm trying to see whether it looks like it's drawing squares, but I think not. Okay, that didn't actually do it. It's very interesting. Like, how much do I have to strip out of this in order to make it work? That's my question. Could this be the problem? If this is taken away, it should be trying to draw knobs under or perhaps over the meter. And if remove from top just ruins everything, that would tell me something. It's able to do area reduce. I'm trying to remember whether I've ever tried to use remove from top and had it just utterly blow up and fail. You know, because there is another possibility. If area removed from top, even though it says it's supposed to take integers, really takes 0 to 1, then any number that is not 0 will remove all the area completely. And that would explain why nothing shows up. So let's see what we got. Let us see what we've got. Build. Because, yeah, up to this point, it can show things. Up to that point, it can show things. And you know, we can still, even if we can't remove the area like that, we can still fudge it by starting the very first Y offset at whatever amount we start. Let's see, another quick little build, whether we can make it draw any knob at all. Again, we have taken away this area removed from top, which in theory should just shorten the area, but is technically and theoretically capable of removing literally everything if it's gone wrong. And over to our test case, do we have knobs? No. Wow. Okay, so not to be rude, but who do we have to blow to get a knob in here? Yeah, good luck with the drum rolls, guys. Drum rolls are something of a problem. So what on earth is going on here? Oh yeah, no. We in trouble now. So sending UI back to audio shouldn't be changing anything. And we're able to make it run. None of these are actually being adjusted here. Oh no, it's got to be in the, everything was working in the resize section, you know. Can't put it in the paint section. I mean, note that meter is not in the paint section. Paint section is only for setting this stuff up and doing a simple global bevel effect. And I will note that also the meter that we're drawing is working fine. That is a relevant observation, that the meter is working fine. So let's bounce around. We've got these things defined. They are all juice sliders. They are all being created. I can't actually delete them, mind you, not here. That exists here. This exists here. So I can see one thing that could possibly be done is I can put this this thingy, melatonin inspector, I can put that back in. See if that tells us anything. Because see, this is exactly the same format everything else was done with. We instantiate the sliders there. We're defining all of them, and we are actually able to sort of update everything. And it's not having a problem with that. I did, and it was set up exactly this way. It looks a lot like I have oh no, it wouldn't. That would not do it. It wouldn't draw it just with light gray. It would draw it as a knob, or it would fail to draw it as a knob, and it's failing to draw it as the knob, but it's not crashing anymore, so that makes it interesting. So this melatonin inspector, that is something that Suadara made. And there's a place in here which I think up here. This. See this? Add and make visible inspect button. That will show us what knobs and things exist, if they exist. And if I can select them, it'll show the little square that they should be drawn with. This should all be, it's all using exactly the same terminology and is no longer crashing. We just can't see anything. So let's build that. Let's see if that is enough to get started with. I'm also glancing around a little bit, trying to see whether I had a melatonin size adder. I feel like maybe I do not. I don't know. I'll find out. What was it called? Inspect button. So it's been added. It's creating the complicated code built into it. Set 0. So we got a thing called inspect button. Here's where we set the meter bounds. In theory, and I do have to add a semicolon after it, that will set the bounds of this button so that it can be seen and clicked on. It might actually be hiding underneath the, let's make it something else, across and down. 80 down. Ooh. Maybe my problem with the bounds is simply that I should be giving it ints. That would be amusing. If I take out the, somehow I thought that it needed to do this, but this set bounds clearly is looking for ints. Have to update all of them to be the same. I do not know whether that's going to... Oh, nope, it's happy again. Okay, so now we have bounds updated to be integers rather than floats. Typically, if we're setting bounds in areas, the bounds in areas we're setting, if they are floats, it's probably going to position everything between 0 and 1, although I'm not absolutely sure of that. If it's ints, it's definitely being done by pixels. And, woof. And our get width and get height, I think, is giving us pixels, but it might need us to cast it to ints. Anyways, let's see what we got. If we are lucky, it might just produce knobs now, because we're no longer telling it floating point numbers in the 200s or so. Now we're telling it integers. That might actually be the trick. Time to find out. And here's why this might have confused me. See how it says auto line width area get width? This is not telling me whether it's a float or an int, which I think is rude. And float aspect ratio, it's forcing it to be a float. I know that needs to be a float, but all this area get height and get width, it could be simply an ints. Changing everything. Let's see what we get. Hopefully we will get at least the inspector button. Drum roll. This is definitely worth the drum roll because it might have changed everything. Yep. We have the inspector button. You notice also that the inspector button is not updating because it is not working with the, it's just a fixed setting. So that's a fixed interface. The idea from this is to have a completely changing interface where everything gets to resize as we go like this. So now let's click it and see what even shows up as controls at all, because we did successfully make one of these. Oh, hi. We're going to try that again, see whether it hangs around any longer. Also, when you tell it to not recover from the crash, it looks as if it tries to do it anyway. And again, we can make it do this. What I'm going to do now is move it the heck off screen in hopes that that melatonin inspector will show up and I can see it, or see it before it crashes. Let's find out. I can see it. Did it crash? Oh, look at you. Wow. See what it's telling me? Oh my God. Well, that explains why it's crashing. Let's see what we can do with it. See what this says? I have a low-pass knob. The low-pass knob is from 3 to negative 100,691. I don't remember telling it to be that. That seems wrong. No wonder it's not showing up. So I'm going to click on Airwindows meter, which is a real control. Airwindows meter can be seen here. This is a rail control, and it is showing. So if this doesn't suddenly blow up, these will stop saying a ridiculous, see, it's the size is like 100,000, although it's still crazy. But the positions of the far sides are like negative 100,000, and that makes no sense at all. I have to fix this before making this work. I don't know why I did that. Airwindows meter should be giving me reasonable settings. Yep, 494 by 24. Inspect the UI should be like 200 by or something. Like 30 by 30. Very good. Now if I click on either high pass or low pass, I think it might even do it if I swoop it. No. It's going to give me insane numbers and or crash, and it's going to try to highlight those numbers. We're on track towards something here. It's a pity it's so late in the day that I can't guzzle coffee over this. Let's see what we got. I remember I clicked on low pass and it gave me insane numbers but didn't immediately crash. We're going to click on high pass and see whether it gives me insane numbers or simply crashes. Yep. Those are some insane numbers. So, what might be causing this? One possibility would be that we are feeding the wrong kind of variable into another kind of variable and somehow making it go insane. Also note that we're trying to make these be a scaled down amount. And low pass was drawn first and then high pass, I think. And we were telling one of them to be 0 to like 200. And then the other one was 200 to 400. Well, look closely at the numbers that we are being given. The numbers that we are being given are now the farthest reach of the previous one, and then negative 200,000. Which is exactly the same proportion as we spelled out. So what we're going to do now is quit out of this without trying harder to make it crash. And look at what we're telling it to do here. Set bounds is going horribly, horribly wrong. And yet inspect button set bounds is fine. And I see a distinction. I see something happening differently here. You see how it's not quite the same? This one is getting set bounds as just numbers. This one is getting set bounds area get proportion. And I'm feeding it a juice rectangle. That's gotta be causing it to go completely insane. Like I'm successfully making a rectangle, sure enough, but then the rectangle, it's possible to feed the wrong kind of juice rectangle in. So I have many, many hours of typing if I can resolve this. But if I can resolve this, I can update literally every one of these controls to work the way I wanted rather than the way it's working. So what's going on here? Well, one thing I see in meter set bounds is that get proportion juice rectangle, I am having to override it and force it to be floats. Line width apparently is not necessarily a float. But then everything is divided by area get width. So that's interesting. So if we would just update these things, area get proportion, I have to start sticking area divided by area get width into literally everything. So let's see what we got. Let's start with the idea that maybe it wants, we'll try to make tiny ones instead, because we are beginning to see exactly what's gone horribly wrong, and this represents what I have in all those controls. Helps to explain why they all blew up and went crazy. So check this out. So that's going to give me nothing. Let's see what we can make this do. They have to match. So we've now got two separate things. Let's find out which one of these works. One of them's going to work and one of them's super duper not going to work. And both of these do seem to require area get width like literally everywhere. That might mean we can scale it in other ways, but first things first. Inspect button acts as normal. So seems to be width, height. Being the starting point. And then the shape and size of it. So the rectangle is going to be created as starting point X, starting point Y, width, height. And here's height right here. This is how we're doing it in the one that works. I just don't know how it's getting width and height and stuff. So let's keep finding out. Copy. And here's our Y and then height. Y and then height. So in theory that should work. Let's find out. However, I'm going to be finding out whether the first one is microscopic and also whether the second one is normal. If the second one is normal, then I'm on the right track. And we didn't crash last time. Yay. Here's our default music. And let's see, VST3, gain. Place your bets. Will we have a knob? We have a knob. This one is healthy, happy, and fine. And I bet we can even open this and it won't crash. So now high pass is 200 by 200. And low pass is like 0 times 0. Yep, there it is. Hey, we made a knob appear. Yay. Now let's make them both appear. Also, I believe those will move, well, or will they? Yes, they will. Okay, let's predictions. Seeing is what we're seeing. We're seeing these things positioned. If I move the window around, what will happen? Will the knob not move and resize? Or will the knob scale to the shape and size of the window? Not squishing and stretching, but moving its position and scale. I am going to guess that because it's all of this stuff divided by area, get height, and get width, which is changing, it will change and move. Let's find out. Again, it should change and move if I resize. Although it might also crash because the other one is 0. I am mistaken. Interesting. I really thought it was going to change with the size of the window right there. I really thought that was going to do it. So why isn't it doing that? What am I missing? Let's have a little peek at Because all the rest of this stuff I think is actually being assigned, but we're only showing the two. Yeah, I actually thought it was going to move. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was going to move. Let's ditch the set color. Actually, no, let's leave that there, but then let's move this to where it will eventually be. We'll by default set color because I know that if it doesn't have any color, it might just make it a funny shape, but if it has that, then we'll have something. So now let's compare this. Offset X and Y are updating. We're going to try a little trick. So if we can make this work, what will happen is all of these can be updated in this way. Mind you, there's a bunch of updates in here, but time to see. And what we're getting to is this entire thing has to be in parentheses. Same with this. I tell you, this is going to be laborious. If I successfully work it out, how to make it work. But if I can make this one little section work correctly, I can make them all. So yeah, starting with 0 got me nothing. All this offset and px stuff should be scaled to the amount. But then if we have a fixed number rather than all that stuff and divide by area get width, well then what it does is it leaves it placed exactly as if this 200 was just what you had. So now we start including get width and get height in this calculation. And if that's what we need to do, then we need to go through and do it for all of them. All of them. It's not hundreds, it's dozens. Copy. So X is the width. There we are. Boop. And then the comma. Same with the knob. And then get height. Oh, I can't select it. Yes, I can. I shall. Copy. And then again. Boop. Oh, I didn't select enough, did I? Hang on. Let's try that again. Falling back in very basic things of can I select things on a screen? Boop. And boop just before this curly bracket. And I did that for both of them, didn't I? So offset Y before the comma and before the curly bracket, and then I have to go back and get, or hang on, slow down. Okay, I did it wrong, but I can still save it. Do both. I should have been selecting this place where it says area get height for the Y dimension. Copy. And then all of this has to be, wait, easier. Copy. Boom, this is the original code. If this works, all of them can be updated. And the confusion between all of these things might go some ways towards making it all actually functional again. I still don't know whether you can set thumb colors in the creator area, but we are going to find out. And oh god, yeah, no, this is tedium. But this is like, I have to do this to make the thing for you. I have no other way. I don't have anybody to do it for me. I'm not making nearly enough money to hire people for this. Some people would find this kind of stuff very easy and simple, but my primary concern is to be able to get through. And build succeeded. Let's find out if we have two little controls that are in exactly the right position with none of the other ones actually created. We're just setting all of their default values instead. And we're setting all their default values to nonsense, but this might be interesting, or at least crash in an interesting way. You gotta get your amusement somewhere. Boom. Hi. That is two controls, which are basically in the right place. And if there were 36 controls, that'd be arranged just like this. Chris Oost, are you in fact paying attention to current events? Government funding. Oh, honey. Oh, my sweet summer child. Yeah, thanks for the laugh. I'm going to be very grateful if I don't get stomped out by the government for being some kind of sneaky person. Check this out. It's moving. It's resizing. Mind you, none of the controls are very good, but dude, this is exactly where those two things are supposed to be on this card in the right orientation and location. And I don't have any of the sides really worked out. The sizes worked out. But man, that's really nice. Also, if I can get it working and all of these itty bitty knobs are too small, I have one place in the code where I can update them all. And I'm sure that I will, because I'm pretty sure what's happened is I have measured the size of the knob, but the sizes I'm feeding in have to also include this label. So I see that all of my knob sizes are too small. Well, Grens Oost, I feel it is important to be able to tell you that I get to choose to bring brighter days and good things, and ain't nobody gonna stop me either. And it's nice to be able to sort of refocus and be like, no, I'm going to do good stuff. I'm allowed. It's what I'm supposed to be doing is good stuff. So anybody complaining about that, I will make little things. See, I've made a little thing. Look at how little this knob is. It's adorable. It says high pass. You might be able to almost kind of see it. And oh God. Okay, so tell you what. It is 4:58. So I feel like what I would like to do, among other things, put it like this. So all of these need to be updated to be like this. No exceptions. Like I like to say, no exceptions. So I've got a whole bunch of these to update. We've also got the discontinuity knob, which is not currently included. Although I wonder, oh, I can do one little thing. It honestly might be easier for me to just copy and paste this and just update all of the things, but I feel like maybe no. Don't need this no more. But we need to update this. So that part's fine. Let's just quickly do that, because if I do this, that one was a colored thumb. Where was that? There. And then I can include the closing parenthesis in my copy paste. So parenthesis area get width. If I do this correctly, I only have to copy and paste 4 things, and it will fill in the parenthesis. Just like that. And then the parenthesis divide area get height. Copy. Then when it's finished doing that, that's not so many copies and pastes, is it? And then we have this bit the way that it needs to be, and it's no longer complaining about it. And see how the offset and panel tilt and all of that is working fine, which is a good sign. Damn straight, grunts Oost. I was talking about how this morning I had a good morning because I was able to go out and do good. You know, there might be places where that is more vital than you could possibly know. Let's see, so DSC, discontinuity. So that means I have to see if this works. I get to take out all this commenting. But for now, we have simply included the discontinuity knob with the high pass and low pass knob, which were up here at the top. But high pass and low pass, it's got all this, it's got add and make visible. They don't have the set color. This is the only one that I included, and it's because this was all finding out whether it was too many of these. If I can do set color, I know I'm going a little past 5, but this is exciting and fun, so we'll see. If I can set color, then I can take out these comments and all of this gets to come back into play. All of this was fine. It wasn't broken. I do actually know what was broken now, too, so let us see. Save, build. Pretty sure we now should have the 2 knobs that you saw, which are not the right sizes, and then also another tiny knob that is the discontinuity knob, and it should have a fixed thumb color. Oh God, have I not closed Twisted Wave? Okay, let's quickly rebuild that with Twisted Wave not being open. I wonder whether having the Twisted Wave open will have the plugin open in such a way that it can't be replaced. So back to this. Do we have a crash, or do we have a knob with a little red thumb marking on it? Ah, we have a crash. See, bad access. So what that means is this. I bet we can't set this color here. So what we're going to do is move this in every other place where we set a thumb color, but this is the only one that's not commented out. If we get to move this down to here, see, discontinuity knob, we'll put it in, we're going to put it in the resize, because previous ones we were able to do that. And DSC, discontinuity knob, let's just step down there, and we know we can set colors because we have set the panel tilt color here. I am going to bet that this will work. See, we're already setting a color. We know that we can set a color here, but we can't set it up there. This is famous last words because like I could be completely wrong. If it doesn't work, then we'll find out soon enough. This time it didn't want to open the file. Here's our file. And now we find out whether it shows 3 knobs instead of only 2, whether they resize, and whether the discontinuity knob has a red thumb color. Boom. Oh, hi. Hi, what's your deal? Didn't like that. Something mysterious is wrong. If that's its problem, then maybe I can set the color up in the top, but I'm just setting it wrongly somehow. What's up with this? From Float RGBA? Oh, that should be fine. I don't get it. That should be fine. Let's see what happens when we comment out this thing that we just added. This is the only thing that we changed. Do we have a difference between where these are? These two were fine. This one perhaps was not. And yet they are exactly the same. Build. Because that is, if I'm not mistaken, exactly the same as these. But the only difference here with these is that now we're not setting thumb color ID. Could it be that none of the thumb colors can be set here? We'll find out. We'll find out. Build. Now we're not trying to set the thumb color ID. Now I know a place where I can set them. Yeah, recover from that. You go ahead. If this works, I go and find the other place where the thumb color gets set, and then I move all those color settings over there, and I can try it once to see if it works. So here we go. Do we have 3 knobs, none of which have a color? No. Okay. Can we make it work again by commenting this out? Ooh. Well, no, it's crashing, so we can't do anything with that there. Alrighty. So now we are commenting that out. Also, one thing to note is that the first 3 knobs we made ended up getting called low pass and high pass and something else. I am pretty sure that there's a section where maybe some of these things are created and other things are not. What I'd have to do, first let's find out whether this made it work again. Boom. So if we get a window, that means this made it work again. We got a window. So what's happening is we're able to make these, we're able to make the inspector window. It says high pass and low pass, but somewhere if we start including the discontinuity knob, even without trying to set its thumb color, that apparently is too much to ask. So I'm thinking the next thing to do is go searching for back from when I had only 3 knobs, or 2 knobs there. Well, I can but try, alcoholic engineer, I can but try. I have a lot of years of staying sober, practicing. Just saying. So, we've got this. We can even make this, this is going to be fun. So if we can add all of these knobs finally, then we can also see how many FPS we get, which hopefully should be lots if this works. But yeah, we've got those. Don't save any changes. I didn't make any changes. Thank you. Is there a place in here somewhere that we're defining knobs, but we only defined the first 3? Because I'm pretty sure that's kind of how that works. Here's our meter stuff. That's fine. This is all loading things. That is setting colors. Interesting. I think that will make the thumb color ID default to flat. That's what we're using. So look and feel. Nope, this does not have any areas where it's only defining like high pass and low pass and skipping all the others. I don't see it. That stuff is fine. This is used for all of the different things, and so that'll work just fine. Here's our meter. That part's fine too. That's the part that's working. Plug-in processor. Do we have stuff in here where it defines only 3 controls somehow? We're defining parameters, but we're including all... Oh, wait, stop. Do you see what I see? Where it says parameters, knob high pass, low pass, air. And then I missed a trick here because I did all of this stuff and I've been working with the first 3 controls for quite a while up until today. See what this says? nparams equal knob air plus 1. But knob air is up here. Boop. And that could explain much. That is a thing where it has defined the parameters and nparams to be only the first 3. And then it's defining all the other parameters, but it doesn't get to use them because the final one that it initiates is just that. And that explains a lot, and it doesn't even live in plugin editor. Let's now go immediately back to here. Mind you, there's a bunch of stuff that we still got to do, but immediately back to here, and then right the heck back down to here, and we're even going to include setting the color of the thumb color, although let's even go harder than that. So what if I never had to do that at all? What if instead I'm kind of assuming you have to set the color after adding and make visible, but that might not be true. move it right back up to here so it'll be the same as all the others. In fact, let's go extra hard. Guess what? We're going to get the band back together. We haven't done that many things, but we're going to oh, that might be a good idea though. Well, we'll see what happens, I guess, won't we? So this is a whole bunch of controls. We are now referring to all of them in turn, but only 3 are positioned correctly. But who knows, maybe it can place and draw all of them incorrectly and not crash. We're going to find out right now. So again, this is going to be only 3 of the controls correctly positioned. Discontinuity should have a red thumb, and if I'm not mistaken, we might have 3 knobs in the correct place, one of them with a red thumb, and all the other knobs either completely missing or wrongly spaced. Something weird. There's definitely worth the drum roll this time. And I do have a fallback if this doesn't work. Ta-da! Does it crash? Yes, it does. I'm sorry for asking for the drum roll. Ah, dear me. So, okay, so now we only have this. Maybe the thumb thing actually can't be done there, but we're going to find out real quick. I know, we're so close. It would have been so cool. I feel like I might be heading in the direction of... Oh, now we have 2 copies of it. We might be heading in the direction if I can draw the 3 controls with the 1 as a red thumb, I'll leave it at that. I've gone over when I said I was going to be done, and I do have to make dinner. And I will be back. This is not the final day of doing this. I may or may not do all the grunt work on my own time. In particular, if I have the house painters distracting me like mad and like scraping on the walls and stuff, maybe I'll want to do the grunt work. Nope. We went down. So the question is, can we get 3 knobs at all? Let's ditch this attempt to set the color. This is without trying to set the color, but this is still, and if this doesn't work, I go and look for other places where that mistake exists. Because that mistake existed in plugin processor, but that might not be the only place. There might be other places where I've defined just the first 3. In fact, before we even go there, let's go looking for whether I can find any other place that it says that. We're defining these, certainly. I don't see a place where it's doing this in params and needing to define the array. See, I thought that was going to fix it. I thought that was going to be the final answer to making it work. And it should have helped because it's very definitely, this was a problem. What do we got here? Okay, there isn't that much there. Do we have another thing like that up here? Oh, you see? You see? Check this out. And my question becomes, okay, so we're going to duplicate this a million times, but one special time right now. Discontinuity. Hello. I think you can see how that might just cause a problem. Also, let's straighten this out a little bit. There's another telltale place where it could go terribly wrong. And we clearly didn't have this before, but now we do. So let's add that. If that works, I have to do all 36 like this. I can see how failing to add parameter that's gonna cause problems, guaranteed. Not having that definitely causes huge problems. It's trying to do a thing for which the thing is not there. The listener is not there. None of this stuff is there until I actively do it. And there were only 3 of them. And it was the initial 3, and when I could make high pass and low pass work, those were already here. This was not until just now. Let's put the color back. If we're lucky, this part worked. But we can't touch any of this other stuff until we add the missing things. And I tell you, I will let you turn in soon. I will let you turn in soon. We're right coming down to the dramatic finale. Because if I can do these and I can update that bit and then I can update all the positions correctly. Ooh, I wouldn't own TV. What I have is a DVD player and all manner of stuff on like burnable Blu-rays and things. You just make a collection of for me, documentaries, loading ready run series of podcasts or like games that they've played. Yeah. Stuff like that. You got to go and find stuff that's... You are welcome to try to download, if there's still a way to do it, download my plugin launch videos, watch those or something. Things with stuff that is good for you. Oh, with these Jeopardy and excitement levels... I agree that trying to make the knobs work is very Jeopardy and excitement. But I tell you, oh, look, it just does that. So it automatically loads it and then it tries to load it again. No matter. Drum roll. I know I've been asking for drum roll a million times over, but this time it does this. Oh, and... Well, I'm at it. If it's able to do that, I can do this. Positions are probably fine. Let's just increase the sizes. That might go way too far, but that's fine. We'll see. I call that a result. Mind you, I'm not going to do that much more with it without a bunch of tedious grunt work, and I need to let Alcoholic Engineer and this recovering alcoholic. I have to make dinner and you have to go to bed. But bigger knobs look like this. I made them actually quite a lot bigger, so I might have gone too far. Not all that much too far, though. See? And they change sizes, and I can expand them up. The sizes of these are too big, but that's why I need to adjust all of, when I have them all sitting there being in a position, then I can work out how big these things should be, because we're having it positioned. The top corner is theoretically in the right place, and then the sizes have to fit within these dimensions. Size of this seems pretty good. The size of these seem like I need to have all of them displayed, and then I can fiddle with these controls to work out like how big are these meant to be. Do I need to scooch them over a little bit or whatever? Again, remember, this is the reference. So they were definitely a little big, but I have now made the itty bitty ones way too large. So tell you what, let's scoot over and reverse that. Make smaller changes. 36 to 41, 22 to 25, 25 to 27, 50 to like 56 or something. Build that. Then the smaller ones will be smaller, but the whole thing might fit in such a way that it's not falling off the screen or something dumb like that. And smaller adjustments to the sizes get us this. And although those knobs look kind of tiny, they get squished mighty small. The overall thing looks like there might just be potential here. Again, 4 sets of these across, 3 sets of them down. It has to fit within a bounding box. Our meter is still working. And once I do that, then we'll have all these little knobs and they'll be positioned appropriately. I'll be able to tilt the top and bottom panels and then make entirely unique aspect ratios for when you're making it like tall and skinny or long and wide. It reshuffles everything so that it can try to make them be appropriate sizes so you can see what everything is. This is the beginning of a whole bunch of work on my part, but it will go towards having the whole range of these, including like the ones with sliders and so on. And instead of just having this little box, it'll be 4 across on the top and 4 across in the middle and 4 across on the bottom, and then I get to fiddle with all of the little controls. And yeah, I'm going to be cooking with coconut oil actually, because I'm making a chicken stir fry and rice dinner for myself. I have got a lot to do. But I'll tell you, that's a start. And it was fun sharing it with you, the few of you who had the patience to hang in there with it. And on that note, I will close my windows up. And I'll talk to you folks later. I'm off to make dinner for myself. Next time I get to it, I can do all that tedious copying and pasting because I spotted the thing that was causing the problem, and then we can start playing with, there's going to be lots more fiddling with it, but it'll be funner because it'll show all the knobs. and I'll be fiddling with it, trying to make it look prettier. Maybe I'll even be able to do some of that tomorrow. We'll see. If I can, then I will get back to you tomorrow, and by then I'll have some of that stuff taken care of, and we can be, rather than crashing all the time, running the program with all the knobs showing up the way that I want, and it'll be just positioning and placing them and making more and more cool layouts for different aspect ratios, and I'll just do I'll do my best with it. For now, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.